the SAGs, they're going after gaming. The world doesn't give a crap.
I heard about that this morning.
Yeah.
I still don't get it. I don't understand what the heck's going on there.
Well, we're going to talk about it. That's what we're going to. It's our opener because it's kind of the news option of today's episode. We're going to get into it, and this is desperation to me right now because the world does not care about their sad little strike. Don't care. We don't care that these crap writers who don't deserve their paychecks aren't getting whatever they're getting. We don't care that the actors aren't getting what they're getting because a lot of them have more money than a lot of us are going to see in a lifetime. And none of these shows are good anyway. So when I saw this on Friday, and again, now it's out there, everybody's talking about it, that SAG-AFTRA is looking to get authorization for a second strike if they're to come inside. This is the original article. They have since been given authorization. They have since been granted it. Jed, this is retarded. They're going after gaming to try and now get us angry to support them. Isn't that? That's how I see it.
Yes, 100%. And it's a false start to begin with because even if this, like you said, it does go through, it has gone through, it doesn't affect all that much in the short term for gamers. Yes, they want the big headline saying, oh, video games is affected. Now the gamer side of the entertainment audience will get invested in pushing the studios to reach a settlement. But when it comes to video games, it's a whole different structure than with movies or TV shows because a video game, when they do all the actor stuff, that's fairly early on. So the only productions that this is going to affect is releases for games in 2025, 2026. The next couple of years are going to be relatively unaffected in the gaming sphere. And even more so, the marketing aspect doesn't apply to the gaming actors in anywhere the same degree as it is for the movies and the television actors. Game actors don't go out there and market games all that much.
And they get their paycheck and they're done. There's no residuals for a voice actor on a video game.
And there's not red carpet events. There's not interviews. Not to the same degree. I'm sure there's little ones, but that's not a big factor in how well a game sells like it does for a movie or television show. So these game studios, they're not going to cancel a movie or delay a movie just because of the actors not being able to market the film like some other movies like perhaps Dune has done. That's not going to affect them. So this is just purely a headline-grabbing decision that ultimately affects nothing in the short term. And in the long term, by the time any of this happens, I doubt it'll affect all that much to begin with because video games, unlike a movie or television show, they can do a lot without the actors.
What I was going to say next. So they can spend their time building the environments, building the world, working out all the actual gameplay bugs, and then go back and do the VA work.
Exactly. So 2025, 2026 games, they're just going to switch their schedule around to include the actors recording lines later on in the process rather than early on, and it just shifts things around for them. I mean, as long as the strike doesn't go for 2 years, gaming industry is going to be entirely unaffected in any substantial way. So this is just, it's a fart in the wind. It's purely to scare people, but anybody who knows anything about the gaming sphere is just laughing at this because it's pointless. It is purely pointless. And it's really sad to see them devolve to these types of tactics because this is purely a emotion-based tactic. It's not a business tactic. It's not a negotiation tactic.
It doesn't make sense either because you guys are pointing out like, hey, nobody has to, like, they can do their recordings later. You know, actors aren't that important. There are the gaming industry is filled with indie games that end up taking off that have zero voice acting in it. This is entirely pointless. I can name several games that I'll be playing right now that have no voice acting. Yeah. So I don't care.
Yeah.
Pokemon, for instance.
The moaning in your hentai game still counts as voice acting, Jeremy.
Yeah, but that's Japanese.
I do that myself.
Those are the Japanese. Japan doesn't care about this. I mean, Dre, all this does is annoy me. I'm not invested. I'm just pissed off.
Yeah, this is a waste of time. And as someone that's worked in the gaming industry for many years, the idea that this ploy is just the idea of trying to get people to care. The gaming industry, they don't need actors. Literally, voiceover holdover is done by people like me and other people that work for the studios. So
once in a while, you get a Claudia Black, and that's
once in a while.
Dragon Age and other stuff. But that's That's not a common thing.
But it doesn't like. But the thing is, like the idea that this is what's going to make people care, or we're going to threaten the gaming industry. The gaming industry, like Jed perfectly put, will not be affected by this one iota. This is you're coming after the wrong medium for the idea that people care about who are the voices behind certain roles. 97% of the gaming community doesn't give a toss who's voicing who.
It's so rare. I mean, it takes something
Yeah.
like Jennifer Hale, who is an iconic voice in Mass Effect and other games, for people to know who they are. Otherwise, or you recognize, like I said, you recognize Claudia Black in Dragon Age and Uncharted. Other than that,
It's so rare.
You don't.
extremely
Yeah,
rare.
yeah,
It's like 1 in 1,000, dude. The audience actually care.
yeah.
I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but there was a very famous one that's done several games that people like, but I can't think of his name right now.
But again, it's rare.
But Dermy, that's the point. Dermy, that's the point. No one gives a toss. It doesn't matter because it's an interactive experience. Who's the voice behind it is not that important. You can put Dermy behind a bunch of these voices and no one would care. As long as it's not Kratos or somebody that has to be masculine, no one's gonna care.
No,
Well, I mean,
that was Chris Judge too. We love.
Yeah,
we love Chris
the
Judge.
only way that it affects it is in majority cases. Kratos is a great example of where it does matter to a certain extent. People recognize Christopher Judge, but a lot of the other examples of when it does matter who the voice actor is and it affects the audience is when it's coming from a different medium into gaming. I would say someone like Kevin Conroy doing the Arkham trilogy. People knew that, recognized him, and that was a big deal. But that was because he was in the animated series.
He was Batman.
Exactly.
He was already Batman. So that's
you're making the perfect point. If this is an established actor that has done an established role and is now being translated into the gaming sphere, now it's about recognizability. But if I make a game, whatever, call it Pac-Man, and then I don't have James Woods voicing it, who gives a toss?
Well, I mean,
cares.
you also have like Nolan North in Destiny, and then the guy who played the leader of the Titans who passed away recently from Destiny. Like people cared about them, but it's one in a million people actually care about these actors.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're not needed for marketing. Even the bigger ones like Nolan North. I don't think anyone went to an Arkham deal and was like, oh, he didn't do a press tour as the Penguin. Sorry, I'm not going to get the game now.
I mean, Dragon Lady, you play a lot of simulation games, which have just weird noises as voice acting.
Yeah, Sims. So which basically means that they don't have to write proper scripts for them, and it's just gibberish. But for most of it, I do play retro games, and a lot of the older games never had voice acting. You had the Mega Drive, the
Genesis.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was called over there. Genesis, Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Game Boy Color. None of that had voice acting in them. So I'm quite used to games not having voice acting in them anyway, so it wouldn't bother me.
It's only the past 20 years that games have had full-on voice acting. It was in basically 2001, 2002 is when it suddenly became a thing. And now it's widespread. And frankly, now a lot of us are spoiled by it. But still, Jed made the perfect point. It's not going to affect anything going forward. There's a lot that goes into a game. They can shuffle things around. They can still create everything and then do the lip movements and the voice acting at the end. That's not. It's a later thing. And then Dre brought in the next point. These are unknown people 90% of the time. It's only going to make us annoyed by all of this. And that's all I am. I'm just annoyed now that it's even part of the conversation. And I'm more annoyed that they're doing it to try, as Dre said, to try and generate sympathy. All you've done is piss me off even more, and now I hate you even more. Goddamn saggies. We hate saggies around here. We don't like saggy things around here.
One of the largest games right now is like Fortnite. There's no voice acting in Fortnite. Well, there is to some extent, but for the most part, there is no voice acting in Fortnite. So, okay, we'll just go back to not having voices.
And that's the thing. A lot of these voice actors in these extra roles don't need to be part of a union, as far as I'm aware. It's very different.
You just hit it on the head, Jed. You just hit it. Exactly.
So it would be completely unaffected. Like for Fortnite, some random game editor could do the voice acting, and it's not a big deal.
I'll
or they
do
could
it.
bring in a family. Like with video games, it's such a different industry. Yes, it's entertainment. Yes, there is some crossover, some bleed over, but the business side of things is substantially different, and so the unions are going to be different. The structure is going to be different. The big people that are going to be affected are the voice actors who are part of SAG, who also work in the video game industry, and it's the SAG side saying, hey, you can't be part of our union anymore and work in the video game industry. You've got to stop. So that's putting effort on them, putting pressure on them. But for the video game side of things, they're not technically scabs because it doesn't apply. It's a different set of work. Just like the British actors who are part of the American unions can still work in Britain because it's a different union there.
And that's why House of the Dragon is still filming.
Exactly.
That's why Rings of Power kept going. Thank you. I can't wait to destroy you. Dermy, the next thing they're probably going to do, and maybe they have done this because it's already part of it. Next, I'm sure they're going to try and say, now dub VA actors for anime. Now
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah,
I
know where you were going to go with that. Yeah, I knew you were coming with
Vic Mignogna's talked about this. He can still voice act. Even as a part of SAG and all that, he still has the ability to voice act in anime because they're different unions, different ways of doing this stuff. So they're going to go after that next. And that probably might hurt and piss people off.
Kind of hurt because I still have fan subbing. I still got fan subbing.
There's that.
I'm going to be okay.
I think that might piss some people off. I think that one might be
but it's, you know what to do? It's going to piss them off against the Saggies.
Yes.
It's not going to piss them off. It's not going to piss them off against company. It's to Dre's point, it's generating false sympathy, false camaraderie, false connection. All you're doing is now to me, it's vindictive and it's petty because now you're just trying to ruin everybody's fun.
Well, now you're also like if you start getting like the gaming voice actors, the anime voice actors, you get these people to strike. That's not helping them. Voice acting actually pays very little. It is not a profitable genre. That's why voice actors go on the con circuits. So if they're not making any money at all when con season's over, they're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
They don't get residuals like you brought up. They're not constantly paid. They're paid a little bit for 10 minutes.
Circle. And it's a small circle. So it's constantly the same people. That's why sometimes some of these voice actors have other roles, as Drake can attest to, in the companies. So they do other things, and they also do that kind of stuff. So it's a smaller circle, and it
takes maybe a day to record all your lines.
Yeah, that's it for an episode or per week.
Very few people that are part of these SAG unions or whatever that actively work in the gaming industry. They're very few and far in between. Like I've maybe seen a couple in studio tops in 10 years. And it's like, but everybody else is usually another developer. Usually there is someone that's in an executive or somebody's cousin, brother, usually somewhere in that sphere, especially when it comes to barks and stuff like that. Like if you're making a giant MMO or something like that, you only need a few people. You'll need a couple people to do different voices for a few different characters, then rinse and repeat. It's not like a Hollywood production. So the idea that they're trying to lump it all in the same vein, not only are they stupid, they're just trying to, like Adam said, just ruin everybody else's fun. Like, hey, our strike is not getting any traction because nobody cares about your elitist nonsense, so we want to ruin everybody else's fun, Karen style. It's nonsense, and it's not going to stick.
I mean, and to Dre's point again, the MMOs is a great example. Only one MMO was massively voice acted, every little bit of it, and that was Star Wars: The Republic. And that's why when it came out a decade ago, it was so huge because everything was voice acted, and you had different people doing, including Jennifer Hale doing the female side of the Republic Trooper. But most MMOs, it's cutscenes that are VA'd. The rest of it, I mean, Final Fantasy 14, it's only in the cutscenes, and not all of them either. So again, that's a small thing. This is all designed. It's AstroTurf is what it is. It's AstroTurf. It's not organic. It's not grassroots. It's AstroTurf. And it's just going to piss us all off. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to reach out to me, please email me at theranernerd@gmail.com for all channel business purposes. I am on Twitter now, mostly for promotion and sharing of videos, maybe a little shit stirring here and there, who knows, at @theranernerd. You can also find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can see me on Rumble and Odyssey under the Renaissance Nerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.